established that I have a daughter, 1-year-old, and that kind of thing. And then I'm talking about our very attractive fertility doctor. And somehow I just say, and our very hot daughter. I was like, no, doctor. Doctor, those words are way too close. And from that point on, it's like done. And then I have a joke after that where I'm like, my daughter becomes a stripper, and I tell her to get on OnlyFans, and I'm like, man, that hits different.
After I just called her off.
After I accidentally.
My 1-year-old daughter.
Indianapolis! Sean, Dick, and Cheese.
Welcome back, Stamp Tramps, to Attempted Delivery. I'm Damianopolis.
And I'm Sean Dick and
I forgot that we weren't saying our names anymore. But welcome back to a very special Valentine's episode of Attempted Delivery, where we like to spread love and not hate. And in that spirit, I need to apologize for last episode. So last episode, it came from a place of ignorance, not knowing, not from a place of hate. So apparently Penn State's slogan, the "We Are," I was just railing because I was like, that seems like a dumb slogan. Like, it's like that version of like "Go Team." It's like "We Are." You're not really saying anything. However, friend of the podcast, Andrew Glessner, educated me and gave me the origin of the "We Are." So he sent a little video of Keegan Michael Key, and I'll just say, so we are Penn State. That comes from one of the first black players to ever be drafted into the NFL was a man by the name of Wally Triplett. He went to Penn State. They went to go play in the Cotton Bowl, and they were not going to be allowed to stay in Dallas because they had black players on their team. Matt Suey, who is captain of the team, his son played here, grandson played here, and he said, if Wally and this guy if they don't play, we don't play because we are Penn State.
How stupid. That's so dumb.
So
what a dumb slogan. What a not all inspiring slogan that is.
Yeah, so I apologize. If anything, listeners of this podcast know, it's that I will always admit that I'm wrong, and that I'm wrong a lot. So
do you know where the origin of Swiss cheese is, Damien?
Fuck off. I don't care anymore. So let me introduce our very special guest. Had the opportunity to work with him a couple times and met him a couple times. Really cool dude. Bobby Tamburro.
Thank you for having me. I am a graduate of Penn State.
Nice.
Seriously? Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you knew that for sure.
Yeah, the minute you said Penn State, I was like, oh no. I do like that you chose to celebrate Black History Month by just lying about one of the best Black history stories possible.
Well, I didn't lie. I just didn't know.
No, I get
and
it.
I was just like, I kept hearing it's like, that doesn't say anything. Now I know it very much does say something, but
If it makes you feel better, when I went there, I didn't even know that. I only know about it because I've seen the Keegan Michael Key video as well. So don't take it too harshly.
Cool. Thank you for Andrew Glessner for educating me and
that is the funniest way to be wrong about something.
Absolutely.
To talk shit about something that's like actually really awesome.
We literally a couple episodes ago talked about like foot and mouth moments where we said something we like just ignorantly, not malicious. There was no malicious intent. I was just trying to be funny and inadvertently trashed a very
that was your Kanye telling the guy to stand up in the wheelchair moment.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kanye.
Not his worst moment.
No.
Speaking of Kanye, what's up with your boy?
Oh, man, shout out to Kanye for letting that joke I have fucking stay relevant.
Me too.
I really appreciate it.
Me too. Every once in a while, like, well, I should probably stop doing it because it starts like not hitting, and then I'm like, no, it's back.
It's the beauty of the Kanye cycle. It'll always come back around.
So how long have you been doing comedy?
I've been doing it 12 years now.
Oh, wow. Hell yeah.
Awesome.
I started up at Penn State at a true open mic, meaning it was mainly music and me doing comedy. And they were like, you'll go in with the spoken word people. And I was like, I don't think we're doing the same thing.
I'm speaking words, but
they're not. We're going to have opposite stances on all of these social issues.
Can I go last? I think I'd rather follow the spoken word people.
I'm going to address everything they said.
And then they can come back next week and address what I said.
Exactly. We're going to have a nice little rivalry. It's me versus the spoken word people. I remember my first open mic I followed, there was a homeless guy in Penn State, and he was in a jam band, and there was no time. So it would just be like, you go up.
Isn't everyone in a jam band homeless?
Right? And 12 minutes of just acid music. Like nobody who wasn't on acid had any idea what was going on. And was like, all right, now this guy's going to tell jokes.
That's so funny. Me and Lori were just talking about that. We used to go to this open mic, this music open mic at Mexitally. And there was these two kids that would go every Tuesday. They would go, and they would play like Grateful Dead jam music. And I don't remember if there was a time limit or if they would just do like 3 songs. But these kids did not get 3 songs because they would just never end. Yeah, it was. Yeah, they get the light.
They cracked down on the loophole that my acid band took advantage of. Nope, same song. You're like, that doesn't sound like the same song.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's another riff. That's good.
So when you started, how did you get started? Other than obviously the open mic, but like what inspired you to start rather?
So, I mean, I was a comedy fan growing up. Like blue collar comedy hit right when I was at the age where you could appreciate stand up. Nice. So I got into all those guys, and it was at a level where like a 7th grader could get it too. Like I thought Get Her Done was about as hilarious as you could be.
Oh yeah.
And then stayed with it for years. And then when I was up at Penn State, I was a delivery driver. And my roommate introduced me to Opie and Anthony.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a shock to the system.
Yeah. I mean, I would listen to comedy while I was driving. He was like, you like that? Check this out. Yeah. And then they were like, here's how you become a comic. And that had never occurred to me. Like that you could just do this. And then so I was like, all right, let me find an open mic. And from there was a Greek god pageant we had. And I was 280.
I wasn't consulted. What the fuck?
No, the thing that mocks your actual religion.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I was like, I'll do stand up for the talent portion. And they saw my jokes and were like, you will not be doing stand up for the talent portion. But from there, I had the bug, and I did it once and fell in love. I'm sure you guys can relate. It's the best feeling in the world.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up for Valentine's Day. Do you have a favorite moment since you started? Like, I know that's hard to pinpoint. Maybe you might have a few. I have one, but like, do you have a favorite moment since you started?
That's a great question. I try to celebrate all the victories a lot, but I mean, honestly, this weekend show was kind of cool for both of us because it was the mic we started doing in Pennsylvania, and then I'm performing there as a comedian, so that was a very cool moment. That or I there's a club I was telling you about in North Carolina, and they're excited to have me now. So like when they bring in the headliner that works with me, they're like, can you bring Bobby? And I had a real hot show there once, and the woman was like, I'm so proud of you. You know what I mean? It was just that moment where you're like, this is why I put the work in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you started, I guess, would it have been the like Lizard Lounge or like Chameleon Club, or like was that the scene you started in? Or
so I did a couple at Penn State, graduated, came back, and then hit the Lizard Lounge. That was one of them. And then the Comedy Zone, I think, was still doing Saturdays after the Saturday shows.
Oh wow!
At that
so
point.
Late open mic.
Yeah, and that different beast. It is not the cool Comedy Zone of today.
I wouldn't be mad at that though, because some of the audiences are really good, and some of them might want to stick around for an open mic on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But how drunk were they?
And I think I chose Steve-O's show, and it was like nobody wants to hang around after that. It's not even you know, he's great, but it's just not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not going to be like hardcore comedy.
No, exactly. They're like, do a backflip, and you're like, I think that's the other guy.
He did a backflip. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You went another backflip.
Take your penis out, and you're like, that's not my thing.
It's not even pierced. What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be impressive after that.
So I guess how long did you do it there, and then you moved up to New York?
So, I mean, I was in the area for a long time. When I was doing a lot of Nova shows. So there was a guy terrible promoter. You'd show up at a Chili's and nobody knew there was comedy.
Nice.
And, you know, you'd have to run up and be like, I'm the fire marshal. And then they're paying attention. Just kidding. I got jokes. And they're like, boo. And then Earl had a contest. And it was, I won. It wasn't a ton of competition. Like it was all guys who had been doing about the same length. And if you won, you were supposed to get to feature for him. And he pulled me aside and was like, I heard you're 5. You got a good 3. So I can let you bomb for 30 minutes if you want.
Yeah.
We'll never work together. Or I could take you under my wing. And he slowly built me up. And that's where I met Lennon.
Yeah,
Lennon really taught me how to handle being a comedian on a show. And be like, no, you come out, you smile, you're happy, you're, like all that stupid stuff you don't even think about because you're like, I got to go tell jokes.
Yeah.
You
Right,
know?
for sure.
And then I was here for a while and wrote a fan letter to somebody who was in the Opie and Anthony universe. I was like, help, I'm a comic in Hershey. I need to get to New York. Will you give me a shot? And he was like, come out. If you vibe with us, we'll let you be an intern. And then that internship turned into a real internship with the company. And that's kind of how I got into New York.
Oh, that's sick.
Awesome.
So, and now I'm back all the time with Earl. I mean, that's how we met. And Lennon and I hang out all the time. And Sean, I'm looking forward to working with you.
Hell yeah.
So
Me too.
Yeah, Lennon's awesome. And we kind of hooked up with Earl the same way. It was through a competition.
Yeah, it's
last
funny.
April. There was like back-to-back ones. I got to the second round. You got to the third round both nights, and since then it's kind of been booking us here and there. So,
and he's one of those guys. Like you meet some headliners and they're focused on what they're doing. He's more like, how do I build this scene up?
Yeah.
The first thing he told me was like, there's not a lot of good stage time. So let me give you good. And I mean, you've seen it. It's a fire hall with 150 people.
Yeah.
And you're like,
For sure.
This isn't what I envision when I hear fire hall show. You know?
Yeah.
Right. So
If anybody does a good fire hall show, it would be Earl David Reed.
absolutely. I was telling Damien Friday, I did the same fire hall twice, once with Earl and once with another comedian.
Yeah.
And that guy's a bit of a fan of Coke.
Okay.
So like he
Yeah, nice.
opened, he hosted and did 45 up top and then was doing 15 in between.
Whoa.
And you're like, oof, it's going to be a long night, guys. So you're just up there fighting with the crowd. There's no jokes. You're just doing crowd work. And so I came back with Earl and they were like, that's a very different show than the last time we saw you. I was like, yeah, this guy knows how to run one.
other than like the blue collar guys, who were you into?
So Blue Collar led into Mencia, which led into Chappelle. And then when I got serious, like they would play all the guys. So then you find like the Mitch Hedbergs of the world. But Patrice is probably my favorite. I liked him when he was on O&A and would yell at like the reporters and be like, no, rape jokes can be funny. And then he's making the crew laugh to ruin the, that kind of thing. That's what made me want to get into it.
Hell yeah.
But, that whole crew's great. You've got Norton, you've got Florentine, Nate Bargatze is the one guy I found before he blew up that I can be like, oh yeah, I'm a hipster. I like Nate when it was just laughed at by or yelled at by a clown. You guys don't even know. But truly, it's one of those things where you start to appreciate what everybody can do.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's a comic in New York from the North Carolina place that we worked together, and she went up and kind of like we were joking about the open mic, where it's like, now I'm going to be the antithesis to everything she just said, but her jokes make me laugh harder than anybody, even though it's the exact opposite of what I do. How about you guys? Who are your big?
Mine was Stanhope.
Okay, that's awesome.
Jeselnik, Carlin. More so like earlier on, like when I was younger, I liked like watching Carlin, and then what actually kind of got me like maybe I could do this was like Stanhope and Jeselnik, Chappelle, obviously, like
Of course.
and then I got into Mark Maron, Louis C.K. and then I just started really branching out with Tig Notaro and like you said, like everyone, it's amazing how like everyone's doing the same thing but has their own way of doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. You could go from Jimmy Carr in one moment to Jim Jeffries, and you're like, these are two completely different things, but I love them both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
Sorry for anybody hearing my child screaming in the background. She's not being tortured.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Right.
No, it's his wife, actually. It's crazy. She's getting tortured by the baby.
Oh, no.
Well, that happens too. She's got sharp teeth. And nipples are sensitive.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah. But yeah, probably. I mean, same. It's when you really, especially like today in today's day and age, you can literally get into everybody.
Absolutely.
So
which
it's
is
like
awesome.
all of the guys. I know, like you for sure missed it, and maybe you too. I'm not sure. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, so I love Dane Cook when I was
Dane was
growing.
the
You know
man.
what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so that was probably a little. He's probably a little like.
No, he was on Comedy, like he blew up on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
But I probably saw more of his like movies than his stand-up. But I mean,
Yeah, that makes
everyone
sense.
saw that Comedy Central. Like he was
For sure, yeah,
everywhere
yeah.
for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do I have so many keys?
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's just like you said, you don't realize like I mean, I watched comedy forever, for years and years and years, and then like 3.5, 4 years ago, it was like, oh, I could try that myself. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to like just watch. Like, you actually start thinking about it, you know?
For sure.
And so like I would have loved. I mean, Blue Collar for sure.
Absolutely.
I always liked Ron White. What's it called? Cat Williams was the
Cat's
shit.
the man.
I mean,
Yeah,
fucking,
absolutely.
especially like early YouTube, like Cat had like so many bits that you could like, dude, watch this 3-minute bit. Like, this is so funny.
He truly was like the clip guy before clips were big.
Yeah,
because
and
it would
then
be like
he didn't even do that, right?
No,
Like,
it was
it was
other
just
people
other-
just in the
yeah.
audience. You know,
Yeah, it's like this. Look at this crazy motherfucker. Like,
absolutely.
and then like Chris Rock. Yeah,
Jinx.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Chris Rock's like one of the top for me, just because that was like somebody that like just. I don't know, like just went like just in culture, just in general. It was like,
Became the man.
God, this guy's saying like I'm learning from this motherfucker. Like,
And he was so like quotable.
that too.
If you
yeah,
say
yeah.
like I prefer syrup to anybody, they know what you're talking about.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I remember like had a friend every weekend, and he had like recorded it on VHS, and we watched that shit every weekend. Like the same comedy special, like you're watching it like multiple weekends. Like
I would do that with Chappelle. Like,
Right.
it was my running mix for a while because the HBO special was a half hour, and that's how long I wanted to be out there. And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
at the end, you get to the point where you're quoting all the jokes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I do like how you jumped on the Chris Rock train. We're making up for that Penn State story at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
like Chris Rock, Chappelle, Patrice.
I'm an ally.
Exactly. Now, Sean, I got to ask, your last name, is that a
Yes.
stage name or
Nope,
is that real?
It's 100% real.
Are you concerned the Orthodox community is going to try to cancel you? Because that's kind of their thing.
No, I should be fine. I think. I think it's funny enough. The
Yeah, it's
people,
perfect.
People, there's like sympathy there. You know what I mean? It's like,
get
oh
it.
my god, this poor guy.
He has to go through what we live. I feel your pain. I feel your pain there.
You
Yeah,
can change it to a dick and hole in the sheet.
Gross. And I also feel obligated. I need to like shorter. I have like a minute on it,
Okay.
and it's like I feel like obligated to do that bit every single time I go on stage.
It does kind of feel like you have to address the elephant in the room
Yeah,
at some point.
I've not.
He got ID'd at the Zone because they didn't believe it was his name, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the first time I went to the Zone, but it was one of the first times I went up. And Mike O'Donnell was the host, and he did the list, and I went up, looked at the list. I was dead last, and I'm like, fuck, all right, whatever it is. I mean, I get it, I'm new, so why
Yeah.
would I'm not gonna get first. And then I was standing there, and he was like, he walks over and he's like, fucking somebody wrote dick and sheets on the fucking thing. and I think Andrew Brooks was like, yeah, fuck that guy. And he's like, do you know him? And he's like, yeah, he's right there. He's like, no fucking way. And I was like, do you want to see my ID? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
And he's like, dude,
awesome.
he's like, I'm so sorry. Do you want to go first? And I'm like, I was like brand new. I'm like, I don't know. And Lennon was like, yes, you want to go first.
Yes,
like,
yes.
that's way better than last.
Yeah, rip the fucking Band-Aid off.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, and then, yeah. So, yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, I legitimately got buried because he was like, there's no way somebody... I had a boss ask me when I told him my name. He was like, dick cheese? Like, no.
Like, how did you make that worse?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I went through it in high school. It actually not really, because it was like after second grade.
It's over.
It's like I already heard them all. They're done. They're all out of the system. Like, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. I had a buddy, Matthew Gay,
Nice.
growing up, and you're
That's
like,
worse.
he-
That's legitimately worse.
But again, same thing. By second grade, he was like, "It doesn't. It's my name. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's laugh." And then Rudy Gay made it real big in the NBA, and he was like, "Oh, I'm safe."
Oh hell yeah, yeah, yeah. Was it just Willie Gay, or there's a Willie Gay?
There's
right?
a Willie
in the
Gay.
NFL right now, I
Yep.
think. Yeah, yeah. It's not bad. I went to school with a girl with the last name Wiener. That's got to be worse,
Oh
right?
God, yeah.
It's just too funny.
And
like
it's a
Dick
girl.
and Sheets is like a weird. It's like, what the fuck is Dick and Sheets? But like Wiener, I mean, that's yeah.
And it's a girl.
Yeah,
like,
that is worse.
You know, how did you get that
Yeah.
name, honey?
I have a sister. Her name is Dick and Sheets. I wonder how she dealt with that. Never thought about that. Yeah, that is funny though.
I was worried that somebody had already done my Orthodox joke. I'm sure you've heard it
No,
before.
actually, no. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
original.
Thank you. I was sitting there at home
Appreciate
like,
that.
how do I have something for this?
Dick and Sheets.
Yes.
So, we did meet through doing shows with Earl,
Absolutely.
and on Friday we did one at Phantom Power, which was special to me. because that's where I did my first open mic. When I was saying like your favorite like moment, I have two, and that night reminded me of it because I was getting out of the car to do the show, and I remember me and Sean sitting in that parking lot trying to get up the nerve to get out of the car. And it's like, it's not real till we get out of the car. Like, we don't have to do this. We could just drive home.
We can go home.
Wrong parking lot.
Yeah.
But then obviously we got out and did it. And then that drive home, I just remember we were like, we probably sounded like we were on coke. We were just like, holy shit, that was like amazing. Like
it's the best feeling in the world.
The rush of that first time. And I feel like every time after that has been chasing that
high.
You know what I mean? But the show Friday was interesting.
Yeah.
It was good.
Interesting is what I want to hear.
Well, for me personally, it was not my best performance, but one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like it may not have been, they weren't carrying you out of there on your shoulders. Like you just won the national championship.
No, not in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, by the way, I've heard none of this. So
okay.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it.
I mean, it's not that crazy. It was just like some of the stuff was just like, so I did have my like my sister-in-law and brother-in-law come, and they brought two friends, which is always kind of weird because I've never met these people. So the first time they're meeting me, I'm doing my jokes, which aren't for everybody. You know what I mean? Like I'm not edgelordy, but I just like dark, silly stuff. Yeah. So that's always like a weird first impression.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm doing the jokes and I'm getting like a good mixed reaction. Like I tried to do the thing, like, are you guys going to be cool? Like, you guys are you going to stay cool? You promise? And then I can call back to that. But I started getting some like just dead silence. But like where before it definitely would have like threw me off. I just tried to keep it going and I tried to address it. Like I have a Jesus joke and like, oh, too soon. It's like we're supposed to punch up. Can you punch up any further than
That's
Jesus?
Very funny.
So like it was getting there, and then so I started diving into the fertility stuff, and I probably had the worst fumble on stage since I started almost 3 years ago. So I have this established that I have a daughter, 1-year-old, and that kind of thing, and then I'm talking about our very attractive fertility doctor, and somehow I just say, and our very hot daughter. I was like, no, doctor. Those words are way too close. And from that point on, it's like done. And then I have a joke after that where I'm like, my daughter becomes a stripper, and I tell her to get on OnlyFans, and I'm like, man, that hits different.
After I just called her out.
After I accidentally,
my 1-year-old daughter, like, it's just like the dumbest like slip of the tongue, like, and
almost bad as making fun of the storied history of We Are, huh?
yeah, but this one was worse. I would say. But yeah, and then I think I got him back towards the end, and you know what I mean. I felt like that's why it was not my best performance, but one of my favorites because things that would have just derailed me and just I just tried to keep it going, and I tried to. You're not as familiar with us, but like it's been a struggle with me performance-wise. Like I wouldn't even look at the audience.
Wow.
And now I'm trying to engage. The Earl shows have showed me that like
you have
especially that audience expects it, so you kind of have to.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to work on that and not there yet, but that's why it was one of my favorite performances because I just kept going.
Absolutely. That's literally what we talked about while Earl was on stage. I came over to you and was like, hey man, it may not have always hit the way you wanted it to, but it was impressive. You stayed in your zone. You didn't let them fluster you. One of the best things I've learned, and I could see it in your set working with Earl, is the bailout. Like I tell a joke, it gets silence. I need a second joke to be like, oh, that didn't go the way it was supposed to.
Right.
And the way you handled that was really great. And to be honest with you, I didn't even notice the dip in the fertility thing because I was backstage listening, getting ready to go up myself. But honestly, man, out of that audience, I think we got what we could, especially
for sure. It was an older audience,
which is always tough.
Yeah,
it was a little tough. And there was one. While Earl was up, I think there was some drunk woman who kind of like stumbled past us.
Yeah.
And then some older, very stately white woman went up to the bar and was like, I need to speak to your manager. And the bartender was like, do we have a manager? I don't know what is going on. Like, I don't know what's going on. And apparently this woman was just like nonstop talking, but like she stumbled past us and we thought she left. And then like an hour later, she stumbled back in. Or like, I don't know. I don't know what the story was, but yeah, apparently she was like talking
throughout the whole show. And you didn't notice while you were on stage or anything?
Yeah.
I didn't notice her. I noticed the statelessly woman. I yelled at her at one point. I was like, uncross your arms, ma'am.
Oh, that's
It's not that serious.
Yeah.
But I guess it wasn't me, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's a great club too. Like, especially the way it's set up there. You know, even though it might not have been the typical comedy audience, you were still set up for success.
Right.
We were joking. It's known for its punk and pop punk roots, but they're playing like 60s rock before the show. You know, they definitely had to Google like old people music and put it on.
Yeah, shout out T. Probably did a great job. He's like, all right, not doing death metal.
He wasn't there. T wasn't there.
No,
I was hoping to see him there. I didn't know.
I lied to Sean earlier. I thought T was there.
No, I don't know who the bartender was. He may have been a mic or two, but I don't. He's not like the regular guy. I don't think. Is the one lady's name Shannon?
Yeah.
She was there.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, she would do the same. Yeah. She's a good MC or whatever, or DJ.
Yeah, they're very good at that. Like, I've noticed in general, no matter who's there, they kind of like, all right, what's the vibe? Let me fix this and do my part.
So, did I forget anything? What was your experience with the show?
I mean, you kind of nailed it. Like it was an Earl audience, a little bit older. They kind of wanted the crowd work. I got into trouble because I came out and made fun of your brother-in-law early. I didn't know it was him, and then they just kept expecting me to do crowd work, and it was like I can't just do crowd work before him. That's kind of And so when I would do material,
that is the one thing you can't. I mean, it's kind of not that he wouldn't be able to do it anyway, but still, I mean, you can't really just do crowd work.
No, and the worst is one time he had me he was like, I'm going to be late. Just go on stage till I get there. And you're like, all right, well, it's going to be a lot of crowd work in the back half. Get here fast.
You better get here faster. I'm going to start burning your material.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to start doing your jokes, not as well.
Bump, bump, bump.
Yeah, exactly.
So 12 years, how much material would you say like you've like accumulated? Like, I know that's a hard question because
given the room,
I still don't know what I have. So.
Absolutely, I could do an hour if I had to. I've done it before. Not all the strong, there's a solid 30 minutes. That's what I usually do. So, but I can branch out. The worst was I was headlining a show and had like 10 minutes left, and the last joke I had is just real racy.
Yeah.
Some people might say ist. And I was like, all right, well, I guess we're closing with that one. We'll see how the audience likes this.
You do that? Yeah, it's funny to end on stuff like that. It's like, if this doesn't work, I can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to leave. And, that's one of my go-to bailouts, too. Oh, you guys don't like that one? I'll fight you in the parking lot. And then just be like, I'm kidding. I'm
leaving.
Leave.
Yeah,
exactly. But you actually reminded me of one of my favorite moments. I know I didn't have a good one earlier when you said Stanhope. So I had a buddy named Donovan. He was crippled. He would go by Crip Daddy online.
Oh yeah.
So he worked with Stanhope one time. That was one of his biggest things. But he recorded an album for the label that I own.
Oh, nice.
And so we flew him to New York and like let him do all the podcasts and made it a big thing. Mm-hmm. And we had him on Gas Digital, and it's only stairs. There's no elevator in the studio. Yeah. So me and Ralph Sutton are carrying his wheelchair down the stairs together, and then we have to get it out. So it's like me and two of the staffers, and we get it to the top, and I just start projectile vomiting.
Oh shit!
And like, because it was that much work. Like it's it's an electric wheelchair, and
it's an electric wheelchair.
He just roasted me for the whole time I'm puking, and then I was like, "You better kill tonight," and he did. And so that was probably one of my coolest moments where you're like, this. Because with comedy, you're not a doctor.
Yeah.
You do make people's lives better. There's a lot of truth to that, but you're not like, did I do anything really impactful? And that was one moment where it was like, all right, I did something. And then like a month later, he passed. And you're like,
man.
We got this kid his dream.
Yeah, that's
what
awesome.
I mean? So that's going to be hard to top that moment.
And what was awesome, it wasn't a novelty. He was legitimately funny.
Oh, he
was legitimately funny.
So I had to hold his mic for him.
Yeah.
And so he started the show by going, it's great being disabled. We're the only people allowed to have slaves.
Yeah.
And like, just like that level of humor and that perception to what he was dealing with was great. So truly a great moment. That would probably be it.
That's awesome.
Not as cool as me doing the Phantom Power, but
No, that's still awesome.
yeah. So I didn't mean to go back to it, but
that's
anytime I can
that's a good
shout out
story,
him,
yeah.
I like him a lot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, now we actually do shows in like the smaller room, the front room at Phantom
Oh,
Power.
okay.
We'll do shows in there.
That's awesome.
Because that big room is not great when it's not that many. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure Earl packed it out.
I'm sure. Yeah, we could definitely not relate to that.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Anyway.
You know,
Yeah.
it's tough too when there's two levels.
Uh-huh.
Like even if there are people up there,
You gotta. Yeah, you almost have to block off the top if you don't know it's gonna
be
fill up or
completely
something.
packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've had that, and it's like kind of. I know every time I'm on that stage, I look up there, whether there's people up there or not, just out of habit. Just like I'm like, why am I? There's nobody upstairs. Why am I fucking performing to the lights?
That's my dad. He's watching from beyond.
It's Jesus. His next joke's for you.
You're gonna hate this one, Lord.
Attempted Delivery is brought to you by
Us. We do not have sponsors, but we'd love some.
Indeed. So if you do enjoy the podcast, please like, share, subscribe, so we can grow this thing and quit our jobs.
Let's get back to the show.
Oh, so speaking of disabled, there's this roast battle coming up in a few weeks. And apparently Earl got announced as a guest judge. I think Karen too.
Oh, you're like, that's
yeah.
hilarious.
So it was Damian Robinson, Dom Driscoll, and Eddie Diesel, right? So I guess there's a couple more guest judges.
There'd be 5 judges.
I guess I don't know how it's going to work or if they're taking somebody's place or what. But
It would be good if it was an even number, so it always ends on a tie.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're gonna have to go to the overtime.
Yeah. Oh, geez, overtime. Sudden death. Whoever bombs first joke.
That would be me. I'm like, let me bow my way out of this one.
it's wild because it's a whole bracket that's happening all in one night, which is kind of wild.
It's a nightmare. You could use those words. That's so tough.
Yeah. This is like the longest running roast battle ever, and we are going to have Corey Miller on next week to talk about it. He's the one who put it together.
And actually, Kendrick Lamar is going to do the halftime show of the.
He's just going to
Of
call
the
all
roast
of you a
battle, yeah.
pedophile. They're like, Kendrick wins.
I wonder if Lamar Jackson's pissed that another Lamar got to the Super Bowl first.
You're not supposed to make that joke. You're a Ravens fan.
That's why I'm making that joke to distract from the Justin Tucker of it all.
Oh shit! Yeah.
But yeah, this roast battle, part of me is really looking forward to it, and then part of me just wants to I'm up against Zach Jack the first round. Part of me just wants to go up and be like, "You're a duty head 5 times," and just lose on purpose so I could just watch. But I don't know. I might.
That move's always tough for the ego because it sounds great. You're like, I'll just lose, and then he comes up and says some real personal shit to you, and you're like, fuck, I should have wrote for this.
And I know he's gonna bring it. So of course, I imagine he's gonna eviscerate me pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a Roman, but you're the next best thing, so he will try to persecute you.
Fair enough.
That was for Jesus.
Oh no. I was telling you a little bit. I did one. It was the night before Thanksgiving, and it was a kumite, so you didn't know who you were getting. And the day of, one of the guys dropped out. So they found a fill-in, Jesse Montana's very funny roast battle. He's always fighting for CFC championships.
Yeah.
And they told him he was against me in the first round. So I went up with just generic jokes like, oh, you're so lazy. And he would just be like, you look at feet porn on the internet. And you're like, oh, man, this is not good. And just got my teeth kicked in. And it wouldn't have mattered. That's the worst part is it wouldn't have mattered if I knew. Like he was much funnier than me that I would have gotten destroyed regardless. And just not a good feeling.
You can't even use that as a paddle. It's like,
That just gave me an idea for a roaster.
Nice.
Take it.
All right.
For Zach Shack?
For anybody.
Just for anybody?
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to come up with a ton of jokes because the format is I don't know who I'm gonna go. So I kind of you either have to just come up with it on the fly or write 75 jokes.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Right. I mean, not necessarily. I guess you could use some if with some for Sarah in the first round. I just had some generic. This could be about any woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So I guess that could be that kind of thing. But that's
But yeah, luckily, I mean, I don't even think we used any of mine. We did mostly because we went against each other in the last one, and then we didn't know there was another round. So we were like, oh shit. So we had to like write jokes about like, who is this? We'll look him up on Instagram. Then that guy didn't show up. So we wrote like 5 jokes for that guy.
Hell yeah.
And I'm glad that you won because you wrote most of the jokes that we would have used. So it would have been so disrespectful to beat him and then use his jokes and then pass on to the next round.
Goodness.
It would have been hilarious to win and then just you use your jokes against her. But yeah, so that was it was definitely the proper thing to happen.
Right. So that should be interesting. Yeah, there Earl as the guest judge and Karen, and it'll be fun.
It's a fun panel too.
Yeah.
Damian Robinson, Karen.
It'll be interesting to see who falls on which side. Like Karen's like, legally speaking, he had a better debate, and Earl's like, I like his crowd work.
That is hilarious. Legally speaking, you could be in prison for that joke.
Yeah, exactly. That's called slander.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have a show this weekend?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yes. Time's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what you did since. Did you host the Zone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I picked up. Drew was double booked for Friday, so I ended up taking his place on the Friday night.
Nice.
Yeah, that went well. It was a fucking fantastic crowd.
That's awesome.
And like I said, thank God. Shout out to Patrick McAndrew. I really appreciate that text because he texted me. I like kind of stay off social media, so I missed the Kanye thing. Oh, he texted me screenshots, and I'm like, yes,
we're back, baby.
Because there was a joke I was gonna do, and I'm like, I don't really feel like doing. I didn't even know what I was gonna do until that day, and I'm like, what am I doing tonight? And then he texted me that, and I'm like, this is fantastic news. So I'm like, plug that right into my set, and so I got to do that. I got to do that joke, and I actually think I got a decent clip of it too, which is what I've always wanted.
That's huge.
I have a clip of it the last time I did it, which I think it was actually last February was the last time the last time I did that Kanye joke. He must get like depressed.
Seasonal depression. Yeah, that's what it is.
I know when I'm seasonally depressed, I hate the Jews as well. It's crazy how that works.
Control this weather and give me a little sunshine, guys.
It's kind of fucked up that they control it.
Yeah, that's the stupidest conspiracy because they would live in New York City and fucking be cold as shit every
freezing
year.
the whole time. Yeah, it's like, come on, guys.
This is the dumbest conspiracy ever. But
or retire to Florida where there's all the hurricanes.
Yeah, there's no getting away from it, is it? There's no good place, no good weather anywhere, is there? Except for Gaza now. But
the only place where we can match the climate.
What is the weather like in Israel? That's probably why they like it. It's probably really nice weather. Yeah.
It's hot and sandy. That's from what I know.
But yeah, so the last time I got what was like a really good response on that joke was around the time I got this camera. And I fucking had shitty SD cards. Oh, no. So the footage is like all clipped. Apparently, I can maybe try to use AI and fix it, but it's a tough task.
Yeah.
It's like it looks like I'm on Zoom or something. Like we were talking about before the podcast.
Yeah, where it's like all glitchy and everything.
Yes, and like the audio is perfect, but the video is like, it looks so bad. I'm like, I can't. None of this is usable. And but luckily, I think I got a pretty good clip of it.
Oh, yeah.
But there was like, the crowd was really good. It was like one of those where like they're like clapping for like premises of jokes. Like, oh wow, it's like, wow, okay, you guys are awesome. I love you guys so much.
I love crowds. I'm sure you guys have like certain little jokes along the way that don't always get laughs, and you can just blow past it. But when they're laughing at those, you're like, all right, I'm gonna cook tonight.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it was one of those. It was like, oh, this is fantastic. I just had a good set, and I met a dude. He runs. You might know Ryan Razor.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he runs the Cellar Door in Baltimore.
I do know Ryan. Yeah, that's a good club.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. So was the headliner. Oh man, I totally forget the headliner's name. That's funny. But yeah, it just had a good set, and then I was supposed to have a show on Saturday, but that got canceled because obviously it was like an ice storm.
Ice storm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that was going to be in a VFW, another one that was produced by Earl. So it probably would have been a good show, but
Honestly, because I thought I had a gig with Earl Saturday, because the whole time he's like, I put this show because we've got one, and like I'll work you on those soon. And then when ours got canceled, I was like, let me see if I can get on there. So I was like, no, it's gonna ice storm anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me just relax.
yeah, and then it ended up. But then Drew couldn't make it to that one on Saturday, and Glessner asked me, but I was already like in Lancaster about to like help with something with Lori's son or whatever. So then I was like, oh shit, it's not gonna work. But yeah, so then ended up just going to bed. Actually, you know what I did on Saturday night? I watched Marley and Me with my girl.
Nice uplifter.
Yeah.
For the how manyth time?
It was only the second time I've seen that movie. Yeah. No, I saw it years ago. She's never seen it. So I was like, all right, you should see this movie.
You should be as traumatized as I was.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was so sad. So fucking sad.
How did Ollie take it watching it? I actually don't know the movie, but I can only assume that
it's
good things happen to the dog.
No, it's a pretty decent. It's a good movie.
It's actually a good movie.
Yeah,
if you're looking for something fun,
fucking
to watch.
heartbreak. You'd think it would be hurt less the second time. It doesn't. If you watch it the second time, it's still horrible. It's a horrible movie.
Wow.
Something about it hurts more too, that it's Owen Wilson making you that sad.
It is.
You're like,
It
this is the guy who made me laugh for years, and now he's breaking my heart.
Yeah, it's a rough movie. Yeah, if you ever loved animals, it's a rough movie.
I don't even like animals. It's a rough movie. I've never had a pet, but I kept like, oh man, if I did, this is what I got to go through. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you mean it wasn't a comedy?
It's funny. It might be a comedy for you, honestly.
It is funny that Kanye influenced your set, because I was sitting there before our show reading his tweets, and he tweeted one, and I was like, nothing I say is going to be funnier than this. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was like, fat bitches are sexual offenders. I'm offended every time. I was like, I can't top that.
That must have been after the two pages of screenshots I saw.
Yeah, well, he does like a bunch of anti-Semitic stuff, then he gets a couple good jokes then to keep you on board, and then you're like, all right, there's the hate again.
Oh, I thought the anti-Semitic stuff were the jokes. No, it's dude's out of his mind. Yeah, they thought the Grammys, they thought his naked wife at the Grammys was going to be the hot button issue. He's like, that wasn't enough tension. Let's fucking go, dude.
He's like, oh wait, women are empowered. Nobody's mad.
Shit, it's not 2010.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I appreciated that. Shout out Kanye. Always appreciate that, being able to dust off those jokes.
Yeah, I didn't do that one on Friday because I haven't done it for a while, because it hasn't been in the headlines.
In an old room.
Yeah, I didn't.
It probably wouldn't have worked anyway.
I did some temperature takers that night, and like, I was like, okay, so I'm not going to do that one because this one didn't. You know what I mean? So
I didn't do it because I hate doing it because it's like a longer drawn out like setup for the bit, but I do have a setup for when that was one of my early jokes that did well. So needless to say, for a while I was doing that joke whether they liked it or not.
Yeah, no,
and it wasn't relevant.
I get that.
And I would set it up with like, I would literally explain who Kanye was, because it's like Central Pennsylvania. A lot of people don't know who Kanye is.
No, you have to be like, so there's this rapper. He's a little crazy.
I'd be like, yeah, he's a guy, very big ego. He said some things that could, I would always set it up. I don't mind burning the dumb setup, but I was like, he said some things that could be construed as anti-Semitic, subtle stuff like I love Hitler, but journalists, they'll twist your words.
They'll take it and run with it.
Yeah. So I didn't have to set it up like that, because I was getting laughs as soon as I mentioned Kanye. They were like, we saw it too. I'm like, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But we'll see. I haven't looked at the footage yet, but hopefully I got a nice little clip for that.
Did you record that night on Friday?
I did. Okay. So I could send that to you if you like.
Yeah, I kind of want that, because I did forget about one moment. I tried a brand new joke. I haven't been getting out to mics as much, so like at shows, like if it's going all right, I'll throw out a new one. And I don't know why I chose to do this one, because I was not doing some. I was like, let me not do that one. And so I did one without doing the whole joke. It references being frustrated with a baby not eating, and then kind of saying, I don't know if JonBenét's parents were guilty. And as soon as I didn't even finish that line, and I just heard, I don't know if it was the white woman, but I just heard no.
I heard that moment. I died in the back.
That's fantastic.
So I was like, I hope I have a recording of that.
Oh man, you gotta know. That's awesome.
It was just like, no. I was like, I almost want to post clips like that versus clips that just like completely explode the audience. I kind of want to get more clips like that where I'm just like completely alienating people.
That will get you more real comedy fans than the clips that go viral because people will be like, oh, I like that awkwardness.
I can't believe I forgot that moment. I just remembered, no. I just said Chamonix's name. It's like, I didn't even get to the end of the joke. Like,
yeah, they were an interesting crowd. They let you know if they liked something or if they did not.
Right. But they did laugh at other stuff.
Yeah, they were.
I didn't. It was just hit or miss.
That's very funny.
Do you have any shows coming up?
Yeah, so I'm doing 2 with Earl this weekend. Then Wednesday and Thursday, I'm at the Creek in the Cave in Austin.
Nice.
And
Hell
then
yeah.
the following weekend, I'm back with Earl. So
Oh yeah.
Nice. Have you been at the Creek and Cave before?
no, I'm
Okay.
actually really pumped because you guys know when you're listening to the podcast of people in New York,
yeah,
that's where
yeah.
all of them started. Nick, Stavros, all those young guys.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, now I get to go to this place where I heard about. And those are some cool moments,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that is pretty sweet. Yeah, that'd be cool to take a trip out to Austin, but I've heard that it's pretty saturated. Now it's a big scene, so it's like
you know, you're like we were talking before the show. You're better off being around here where you can work through. There's a meritocracy. It's
Yeah,
not so
yeah.
big that like there's 9 Sean Dickens sheets.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you got to stand out from them somehow. You know,
true. Yeah, thank God it's Dick and Sheets too. Not gonna be a lot of it.
That's a good.
Somebody,
that is a good.
if another Dick and Sheets starts doing comedy, I'm gonna fucking kill him.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you.
We're
I'm
not
with
doing
you.
this.
I think I'm pretty safe. And
Yeah,
then
you're
like
probably safe.
they would probably misspell their name too on every single flyer. So like,
You guys would be
I
on
think
the
I'm pretty
same.
safe.
You'd be on the same bill, and they'd both be misspelled in different ways.
Absolutely, but they would spell the other guy's name. I have a buddy, Dan Brown, in Connecticut, and there's a headliner named Dan Brown who was working
man.
Hilarities in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And they kept tagging the Connecticut Dan Brown and all their stuff. And he was like, I'm just going to show up if you guys keep tagging me and say it's my show. And you can't prove it's not.
That's so funny. Oh yeah, I don't know. You guys told me you booked me. I don't know this.
You reached out. You tagged me 9 times. Am I supposed to be here?
You got to at least give me a guest spot. That's how this works.
That's the game I would play.
I toyed with the idea early on of like just going by Damien, but like that seems kind of pretentious just going by one name. You know what I mean?
And it also doesn't help that you're darker. It sounds like you're leaning too hard into the darkness.
Right. And there's also a more
Damien.
established Damien in the comedy scene that I'm starting in. So like,
Yeah.
it's like, but mine's AN. And it's like, no one cares. No one cares.
You guys should do the dueling Damien show. That would be awesome.
I wouldn't want to be against Damien in a roast battle. Yeah, you were gonna go as Damien Paul, which maybe you could have like acted like you were a Paul brother.
Yeah, I'm the one they don't acknowledge.
Right.
I'm the only one that doesn't box.
I'm the one that could beat Mike Tyson for real.
I'm the Mary Kate and Ashley. I'm the third one. My future's going to be
Elizabeth
good.
Olsen.
Yeah, I'm the Elizabeth Olsen of the Paul brothers.
That's the Elizabeth Olsen. Damn, I actually didn't know there was a third Olsen sister.
She's hot now. She's the Scarlet Witch and everything,
Okay.
and in all these movies. And it's
Easy there, Drake. She's hot now. The other two were in their prime.
yeah, they peaked when Hollywood was into that, and now
It's a good way to put it. When Hollywood was into that.
just can you imagine being her though? Like your two sisters have had to been mentally just fucked by Hollywood.
yeah.
You don't have to do anything, and then now you're a star, and you're like, I get to be the healthy one.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. They do all the hard work.
You're like, I'm just gonna coast in once I'm an established adult. My mental health's okay. Sure, let's do it, guys.
I went to high school. This is crazy.
Nobody knew who I was.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
Sorry, I blanked for a sec. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna cut this. So how much of like quote unquote the road have you done? I mean, obviously going to Austin, New York, like Pennsylvania. Like, how often do you go out? Like, where all have you gone?
So I probably once or twice a month I end up on the road somewhere. when I got fired from the network I was working for, I got into it with somebody. That's how I got fired.
Yeah.
And the guy who got into it with him before me kind of took me under his wings and was like, all right, don't panic. I'll get you some road work. And so from there, I go with Aaron usually like once a month when he's on the road. That's how I ended up in North Carolina. He's taken me to Phoenix, Milwaukee, good places.
Yeah.
And then that company, before it all kind of went to shit during the pandemic, we all were willing to perform and weren't like super strict about other people being like masked up and stuff. So at that point I did Vegas, I did Austin at what's the place that Hinchcliffe got in trouble for making fun of the guy.
Oh shit, that was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were there the next night.
Nice.
So like literally the clip went viral and we were like, come see us
hilarious.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, places like that. Atlantic City, we did a bunch, which was cool to be like a performer in Atlantic City. I mean, in Vegas, it was nice too, but everybody was there for different things.
Yeah.
In AC, people were just there to see the show.
Yeah, there's less to do. There's no, Cirque du Soleil.
Exactly.
Unless you count the boardwalk.
Which is my Cirque du Soleil, yeah. But at that point, nothing was going on. So like, if you were in Atlantic City, it was to see this show, and so like people are like, "Oh my God, you're that guy," and you're like, "You shouldn't be that way."
Yeah.
Like, chill.
You shouldn't be like this.
I will go to your room and smoke weed. I am not a star. Let's go. So decent amount, but honestly, like the Earl shows have been such a staple to fall back on. Like you've got something good pretty much every weekend.
Sure.
Did you open for him when he did this Strand a couple years ago? Well, did you ever open for him at the Strand in York?
I probably did. Like, I do a lot of gigs with Earl.
Yeah, because I saw your picture and I'm like, maybe that was the guy that opened for him.
So either me or Jesse. Do you know Jesse Blanco? He's a little bit older, kind of bald. He ran the Reading Comedy Outlet for a while, but it was
I will
probably
say I don't
me.
remember the bald because I think they were wearing a
Hat.
baseball
So
cap.
then that was me.
Yeah,
that was me.
what you said his name was? Jesse what?
Jesse Blanco. He ended up moving to Florida and doing stuff there, but he was running the Reading mic for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do a joke. That's why my hair looks as bad as it does. Damien knows it, where I call myself a pedophile. I really want to have good shows in Austin, so I have to let it grow out a little more so you can actually see it. So I have to just walk around like this. And it's not that good of a joke, but I'm just like, I need that ace in the hole.
Yeah.
I need that bailout. That one joke where I can always be like, look, I'm that bad guy. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It might have been both of you guys, actually.
That would make sense. So for a while, Jesse was like Earl's number 2 and would set all this stuff up. And
is he an older dude that? Okay, because I'm trying to think. I remember he had a lot of jokes about being older, and he was the host.
Yep, exactly. That would be him then. Yeah. So small world.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I just remember because I think it was the first time I saw Earl perform. Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, it had to be the first time I saw him perform. This was, I guess I was starting to do comedy, but I wasn't. I was green. And I just remember going to see him at the Strand or whatever,
Yeah, and it's certainly a unique experience. Like, I've seen a lot of people do it. Not many do it like Earl.
And it was crazy, like, to do it there. Like, what he does, because it's like a theater.
Yep.
And he was still doing crowd work. I guess the lights being up, he could still see people, but he must have better fucking eyesight than me.
I've done those theater gigs, and I talk to the front row because that's all I can see.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing what he does, and it's so fast and something to aspire to.
It's definitely sick.
Have you had any interesting, funny, terrible experiences with like heckling or anything like that?
Ooh,
no.
I mean, not so much with heckling, and the reason why is those shows, that audience was brutal. Like the compound shows, that's same fan base that like booed Burr in Philly, where he did his infamous meltdown. So you had to be ready for them,
right?
But I
wish if I ever have a meltdown, I hope it's that good.
Yeah, exactly. I hope it's something people still quote 35 years later.
I only quote one of the words.
The worst I ever had was if you heard my trans joke. So I did a trans joke, and the host on the show was trans, and a woman wanted to like fight me after the show. The manager was like, "Just stay in the green room. I'll take care of it." And the host was like, "I'll take care of it."
Yeah,
and just went down. I was like, "Hey, I'm trans, right?" Like, and that kind of resolved it. But I've never had like a real issue. I'm pretty easygoing.
Right.
I'll bomb before I really get into it with somebody.
Yeah.
But there have been those shows where it's a dogfight. I'm sure you guys know it, where like everybody, they're into the show, but they want to talk about each joke after, and you have to like keep them on board. That's the worst I've been in.
Yeah, I've had surprising success ignoring it and moving on. And I'm happy about it. And now I'm actually starting to get to the point where I might have the wherewithal to be able to handle it. So luckily it hasn't happened.
The lube
you know what
guy
I mean?
the lube guy at Burning Bridge.
That's true, I guess, yeah.
You handled that good.
We did the show recently, and he wasn't heckling, but he was just like, he was somebody that has drank most of his brain cells away, probably. And I tried to do crowd work with him, but he just kept saying
That's the
lube.
worst.
Right.
Yep.
He had one joke about
worst.
lube, and then the guy kept saying, "Keep talking about lube." Like he was just a fan of lube.
I think that was generous. What the sentence you strung together? That was pretty.
Just that couple of words.
It's
I
ours
get
with
that.
lube. It's like, what's happening? Like, I was like, I'm getting, like I said, I'm getting to the point where I'm like comfortable enough to actually talk to people and not just like, bleh, and just keep going. But like I'm like, come on, man, I'm out here. I'm trying. I'm like, we're doing
Trying to
this,
do this
and
for you, yeah.
he wasn't like coherent.
Oh god.
And it was just like, damn it, whatever, man. Like I wanted this, but yeah, it just wasn't gonna happen with him.
Sometimes the helpful heckles even worse than like when
Kinda,
you're
yeah.
like, I don't
Right.
want to be mean because I know you think
Yes.
you're doing good. Like
And he's like, hey, they say it was kind of like that with that guy. I'm like, he's having a good time. It's not like he's.
he just is
Right,
too
right.
drunk to realize the context.
I don't think he wasn't in there the whole time. I don't think he was drunk. I think he was like, he was a drunk.
I guess the worst I ever had, it was the old Yonkers Comedy Club. There were 3 people in the audience. And I said something right away. I made a 9/11 joke. And one guy was like, fuck you, no. And you're like, okay, all right. So it's one but
Yeah.
what are you going to do? And then we did a show one time and the guy hosting grabbed the waitress wrong, to try to get her attention. And it wasn't really a big thing. Like it wasn't intentional. Everything's cool now. But at the time, the guy running the show was like, no, just get him out of here. Like, we'll deal with it later. It's
Yeah.
not going to be a problem, but like, let's just de-escalate. So I got thrown into hosting in between sets. And they were like, I was like, hey guys, it's me. I know I'm not the black guy you're used to, but I can act that way if you want, we can try to have fun.
No, all right, let's keep it moving.
All right, cool. Let's go.
Your
so-
next comic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to do any time. All right. And then, every once in a while, an Earl audience is just not into what
Yeah.
I'm bringing to the table.
It doesn't help that. It doesn't help that they love him. So it's like
You're just in the way of them seeing him.
pretty much
A lot of
yeah.
times it feels that way. Oh, one other one I was doing, it was a show and there was one black guy in the room. So I go out of my way to be nice to him, but he's
Yeah,
wearing a bright, sparkly jacket. And at one point I was like, would you rather a dude or a chick give you blowjob lessons? And he was like, neither. I'm the best at it. And I was like, man, you shouldn't say that in that jacket. I just think you're gay. And he was like, yo, we're not friends. I'm gonna fight you after this. And I was just like, hey man, we're in Pennsylvania. This town's just looking for a reason. Like, give him one. There's not a KKK that hates black people. They hate Gary because you're the one guy in this town ruining their dream. And that made it really awkward. But even then, he afterwards was like, you handled that well. So
That's awesome to get praise. Like, hey, you did a good job.
Respect,
That's really
respect.
way to put me in my place there.
fun. God, you know what? You can't fuck me. As a matter of fact,
Come on down. You
come
want
on,
me
Gary.
over?
Let's do this. You're sweet.
We, as relatively newer, like we're coming up on our 3 years in, and you always hear about comics like talking about finding their voice and that kind of thing. Like, do you feel like you've done that? And kind of how long was it before you were just kind of going up and telling jokes to where like this is me on stage? Like, have you reached that moment? It's because it's kind of esoteric. It's hard to say like, oh, this is my voice on stage. Like,
Very, very tough, right? To be like, this is who I am. And
Right.
for me, the hard part is if it's me and I don't know anybody else on the show, I'm very good at being myself. Like, I'm not going to ruin anybody's night. But if I'm like with Earl, for example, we won't do as much crowd work, right? Because that's his thing.
Right.
Yeah.
With other guys, I know they're edgier, so I got to be a little edgier to get the show ready for his level of edginess. But when it's just you or a showcase or something, I feel like I've started to find my voice a little bit.
Alrighty.
Like I find moments where I'm like, oh, okay, you just reacted. You didn't plan on what you were going to say. You just kind of did it. And it's few and far between. But I feel like I'm starting to realize what it feels like.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
the answer, I guess, would be no.
Fair enough.
And part of it was when you're writing jokes, you have to be funny. at first, and your mind might not always be ready to make it funny. Like if you think about a street joke, it doesn't matter the personality behind it.
Yeah.
It's just funny. But then when you're trying to add your personal touch to it, you lose it for a minute, then you get it back, and it's kind of that kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it seems like a strange thing. Like we've asked a bunch of guests that, and it's like, is it something you can actively achieve, or does it just happen naturally over time, organically? And it's,
I do think it depends on the type of comic you are. Like if you want to go out there and be the guy who has a message and wants to deliver, I think you can work on that. My goal's always been, I'm sure as Earl used the "you don't want to be a white guy with nothing to say" quote to you. Like you know, make sure. And my point is like sometimes that's exactly what I want to be.
Yeah.
Like I just want to be 10 minutes or 30 minutes of your life where you don't think about what else is going on. And so it's tough to be like, I don't think you can work on that. You just have, you know what I mean? Like, but if you have an angle, then yeah, absolutely. What would you say like your guy's goal voice would be?
I don't even know. That's why I think like only being a few years in, I feel like I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I think I told you like my goal, like because Earl was saying like, you know, you don't want to necessarily just be edgy for edgy's sake or that kind of thing. Like, and my goal is to be kind of Addams Family-ish, where it's dark but it's silly.
That's a great.
It's not
description.
like
it is a great description.
I tried. I feel like I fail sometimes. Sometimes I'm too silly, and then sometimes I'm just too dark, and it just alienates people. So I'm like trying to find that, but that's my goal. But I don't know if that's necessarily my voice or what will work for me.
I mean, I think you're nailing it from what I've seen, by the way. Like, you're not super edgelord for the sake of being edgelord. Everything you say has a deeper level to it, which I really appreciate. Sean, I haven't seen your comedy, or I'd suck your dick, too. But
I'll settle for a regular.
you're killing it on this, you're killing it on here. But, you know, Nate Bargatze, I know we were talking about him earlier, said you need to learn how to kill and then worry about finding your voice. And I think I'm still at the learning to kill point where it's like, how do I just win an audience over by being funny and then worry about what I have to say? But that's a great, like, kind of guidance. Like, this is what I want to go for.
I feel like I'm like trying to learn to kill, but I've like kind of learned how to maim and like lightly injure.
Yeah, I can bite your ankles for a bit. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my goal, but it's a fine line to walk because I've found like if I just come out cold with it, people are like, a little, you know what I mean? But then if I try to be like, are you guys gonna be cool? I'm super edgy. I'm dark. Like that feels fucking hokey and
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the balance I've been.
And it's tough to do what your goal is hosting, right? Because part of hosting is getting the audience on board and winning them over, and like. Then you have to have a little personality. One person was like, in my club, I don't care if you do well as a host. Your goal is to get the back corner, the other back corner, the front corner, and this corner. And once you've talked to them, do what you want for a few and get the next guy on. And you're like, oh, okay, it's a different role. So it's hard to find your voice when you're just doing hosting or short spots. So.
Yeah, I haven't really hosted. I hosted one open mic at Phantom Power, and that did not go well, and then hosted one at up at 0 Day. That actually did go well. I was a little more seasoned by then, but I haven't done much hosting. I probably should to try to work on that, work on that, but it's just not my strong suit, I don't think.
Or even like Friday, where you're going up cold to the audience. That's my point too. You're doing both the hosting and a feature length set, trying to win. That's a unique space to be in, and nobody likes that role, so it's tough. It's absolutely.
It is hard to, especially because hosting is a job. So it's like,
absolutely,
you're not like able to like stretch your legs hosting because it's like my job's just to do well, like
do okay,
just not ruin the show.
Exactly,
like, that's really the only.
Just get people used to them getting screamed at for a few minutes, and get the next guy rolling. Absolutely. How about you? What are you going for, Sean?
I have no idea really. I don't know how to. I don't know exactly how to describe what I think like my goal would be. I will say I have jokes that match what I want to do. Which
nice.
Is good. So it's like it's like hard to, I don't know. It took me a year before I even realized I was an observational comedian. So, somebody said that. I think Kyle Neff said that on the podcast, and I was like, Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That does track. So, like, yeah, and I can't imagine, like, the way your act is, I can't imagine trying, like, finding my voice within that. That is tricky. Because it's, like, so many setup punch, short jokes. Most of my jokes are, like, a minute plus. So it's, like, it's easier for me to have personality within that.
Right. And you just have a better personality. We've established you're definitely more likable.
I mean, that's possible.
I mean, each their own, you know? I'm not going to alienate half the room, I know. But I think the perfect example of learning to kill is Lennon. Like, we've talked about him.
For sure.
His jokes are on point. They're tight. But the minute he pulls out that guitar, it's a completely different game, just as funny. And he's just learned, like, I know how to capture an audience.
Yeah.
I joke all the time. No matter how good I do on an Earl show, I know the minute Tiny Tim starts. It's getting better than what I've ever done. You know what I mean? And it's truly, he's just a guy, and he's the most likable person. His personality comes out on stage, even though he's doing one-liners. And I think he's really solid at. There's no way to describe his voice, but he's got it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it is cool. I remember I've seen like clips of him early, and it's very Hedbergy, and it's very funny to see how much it's. Some of the jokes are the same jokes. Like he's done some jokes for like 10 years.
The joke he wants to make a shirt.
Yes.
I don't want to give the punchline away, but the way he delivers it now versus the way he did like 6 years ago, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different joke, even though it's the same words.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like you said, like a street joke is the same but it can kind of be different, like the way he delivered jokes, and they're the same jokes, but they're his now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And hanging out with him after the show feels like listening to him on stage. Like it doesn't feel like there's a separation anymore where you're like,
like the authenticity and naturalness for sure.
Like, you know, I'm sure you both were this way when you're the guy at a party making people laugh.
Yeah.
And like, it's so hard to capture that feeling doing stand up.
Oh yeah.
Where you're like just hanging out with your boys and making them laugh. But like Lennon feels like, oh, this is Lennon.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've never been necessarily that person, like, you know what I mean, the center of attention like that. But I do remember, I don't remember when it was, but I remember we talked about it on the podcast too. I was like at a bar, and I ran into like an old friend, and I was like talking to him and his girl or whatever. And I was like making them laugh and stuff. And in my head, I was like, I'm killing right now.
I'm murdering.
Like, I'm killing this. And if I could just do this on stage, I'm riffing. This is crazy.
Anybody record this? Anybody record this?
Hold on. Like, fucking record just in the middle.
Start telling, I need you guys to come to the show.
Yeah. And it's just like, it was one of those, it's something that's one thing I want to work on, is just being more, like you said, myself on stage or whatever. And it is easier with like more time. You can kind of like just breathe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, like if you have like a 10-minute host spot, it's like, all right, I need to kill for this 10 minutes. That's the goal. After that, has nothing to do with like how I feel. Fucking tell these jokes, and you know.
Absolutely. I do that all the time. Yeah. I actually had a guy pull me aside and was like, hey, what did you learn tonight? He was another comedian he was featuring, and was like, what'd you learn for yourself tonight? I was like, nothing. He's like, do you have a good set? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're gonna feel good for 12 hours? I was like, yeah. He's like, but you didn't gain anything. Yeah. And like, so that mindset of, okay, maybe I take less of a win to work on something new is hard to get into as well. So who knows?
Yeah. Figuring it out.
Yeah. Step by step.
I think as long as we're being reflective and self-aware, I think, you know, you're on the right track. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but I mean, I think doing this has helped because we kind of analyze each week and that kind of thing.
Excruciatingly.
Yeah, sometimes over analysis can be a thing. Analysis paralysis can definitely be a thing. Sometimes you just got to go do the goddamn thing and just see what happens.
The first 4 episodes of this podcast were before we started doing comedy.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we were. It is kind of cool, but there got to be. The last thing I want to do is watch those or listen to those podcasts.
It would have been better, like. Now that we're more experienced at the podcast too, I'm thinking back, like, fuck, we should have recorded in the car before and after the first open mic.
Yeah.
That would be so natural now, but we didn't think about it then. We were just trying to like work up the nerve.
Yeah. We talked about this on Friday, but it's still one of the coolest things is that you guys have 4 episodes from before you even started, and where people are going to be able to see 10 years from now, like, look how far you've come.
Yeah.
20 years from now, like, oh shit, that guy on Rogan started doing a podcast before he even, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And now he's on there giving medical advice.
He just said the word you're not allowed to say on Rogan. But
Yeah.
part of it is you may be too mentally healthy to find your voice, Sean. You were saying you didn't like to be the center of attention or anything like
that's not true.
The way I do it is my neuroticism.
Yeah.
My new thing is gay shoes at the gym. Have you hear me out here? So the thing is, you get caught looking at girls at the gym all the time, right? And like that, they're putting it on Instagram and calling guys out. So I wear rainbow shoes to the gym. So like, there's no way this dude's checking me out.
He's just looking for a friend.
He's playing for the other team. Exactly. He wants to know how to get a big ass too.
You got a pierced ear?
I wear one earbud. All kidding aside, the Kamala Harris earbud. Exactly. I'm not getting busted. What are you listening to? Gloria?
Gloria Gaynor?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But, you know, that level of neuroticism, then go, oh, I could be funny about this.
Yeah.
You know?
That is.
And that's me naturally being, but then it never translates as well on stage. And you're driving home like, I should kill myself.
Yeah, no, I'm not that mentally healthy. It's just, that's like the only one, that's the one thing I don't. Yeah, but it hinders me. I should be the center of attention, or I should want to be.
Yeah,
it would help me riff more.
On Two Bears, Tom and Bert were just talking about this, where Bert obviously always wants to be, and Bert was like, "You're not like that," and Tom was like, "I am, just only when I'm on stage. When I'm not on stage, I don't want to be, but when I am on stage, that's when I want to be." And Bert just doesn't know how to turn that off.
Bert is Bert. He has found his voice.
Yeah,
it's
if anybody's
the guy
found
who
their
takes your
voice.
shirt, yeah.
Yes, that's. There's nothing inauthentic about Bert Kreischer.
I don't think he found it. I think he just stumbled into it.
Yeah, drunk.
Yeah.
You can't say professional comedian. If you could have any job, what would it be? Like, as a career, like if you could be anything, obviously, other than a comedian.
I mean, there's the old trope. Every comic wants to be a rock star. Every rock star wants to be a comedian. I'd probably go that route. But
do you get the talent, or is it as you are? Because if there's no use to being a rock star.
It's just a dream job.
To be completely honest with you guys, like a while ago, I was pretty suicidal and kind of decided like, hey, if you're not gonna,
you're a comic.
Yeah. But literally it was like, well, you might as well try to be a comic, because if not, you've always got plan B. I'm kind of in. This was my being like, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't feel that way anymore. I'd make it work, but comedy got me through that. And in a way, it's kind of like, you got to burn the ships.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough to be like, what would I do? I was a podcast producer for a while, but that's pretty close to comedy. You know what I mean? I was
and suicide.
And suicide, yeah. Absolutely. I would be probably like a CNA of some sort, you know. I would say a doctor, but there's no way I'm getting into med school. Like I got out of Penn State with a 2.0, and they were like, "Hey, buddy, you got to get 9 A's in a row if you're going to pull this shit off."
I'm not creative enough to dream that.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, something where you, like I said, where what you do actually matters.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Being a mailman absolutely matters. Like,
Okay, all right.
There are
You're
moments.
going to talk about everyone's dick now?
Yeah, well, I had to get it in somehow.
300,000 people's dicks.
Hey, there's a big union, and I want them to come to my shows. But no, like, I'm sure there are moments where you make somebody's day with a letter or something.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Sure.
And when I was working at Dick's, there was a kid who had like a club foot. I don't know what the PC term is, but he had this big
I don't
cast.
think that's canceled yet, so you should be good for now. 5 years from now.
It's going to take him a while to march on that one.
Nice.
But I found him cool shoes, and like the kid was crying. He was so happy that could fit. And you're like, if I had a job where everything I did mattered like that, I'd probably not be so bitter coming into work. So I'd have to find something like that.
Yeah, that would help things. Yeah, there is every once in a while there's a moment where it's like, yeah, you find like I can't even think of any, which is not good. You probably should think of those moments a little bit more often at work, especially just to get through. But yeah, it's a shit. Yeah, because I've thought about being like a EMT or whatever. Because actually I was just talking to my uncle about this. My other uncle passed away, and Saturday morning was he passed away like months ago, but they live in Georgia, so they was like a delayed memorial or whatever. And I was talking to my other uncle there, and he was like, yeah, his neighbor just died. and she was like on a run. She was like older woman, but she, like I think 50 something, but she like runs every day, 5 miles a day, and she like died and had a heart attack. Probably shouldn't have ran that 5th mile.
Yeah,
Maybe should've-
See, that's why I don't run.
But he was like, yeah, he's like, we felt like, I mean, we were doing like chest compressions, but we didn't even know if we were doing that right. And it's like, God damn, that's something that like I would not mind having that like
ability to
yeah. Because what if somebody you know or love is or somebody in a restaurant is like you're not a doctor, but you could help.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
There's a good chance somebody at an open mic is gonna OD. Like,
Or O'Donnell. Let's be honest, he's not always looking great.
O'Donnell.
Yeah, Todd's got him on the juice now. You know that's not good for your heart.
Sure isn't. Yeah, it's so funny. It's gonna be. Might be O'Donnell, actually. Love you, Mike.
One year, I came home from college super depressed, and my dad was like, "Oh, you're depressed? I'm going to fix this." And he made me work at it was called PA's Vent Camp, and it's a week for kids on ventilators, and you give them a normal week at camp, and like you do feel that level of reward. But
Yeah.
those kids are funnier than I'll ever be.
Yeah, yeah.
We had one kid, he couldn't move he was quadriplegic, so couldn't move his arms or anything. So we took him fishing because they were supposed to build a float as a team. And he was like, I can't do that. You want to go fishing? And fishing was just, we'd tell him dirty jokes while we fish.
Yeah, nice.
And so the head nurse comes running down. It's like, why isn't he up there with his team? And we're like, he wanted to fish. And she does the old sweet thing. She's like, Brandon, is that true? Do you want to help your team win, or do you want to be down here alone fishing? And he was like, I'd love to help my team win. And she's like, really? And kind of gives us a look like I told you. And he goes, did you figure out how to make my arms work? And you're like, I can't top that.
Fucking solid gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're
I
always
thought you
in
were
a
gonna
good
say
mood.
like you were using them as bait or something, like that, or like a float in the water.
Bob.
There's an electric chair. You can electrocute the fish.
That would be awesome. I don't even think there were fish in that pond, to be honest. I think we were just standing down there. That was usually code for counselors are going to do some drugs and you're going to be cool, Brandon.
Nice.
But he was 21 and we were all like 19. And I remember one year we loaded him up in a van to go buy us beer.
Nice.
And the guy tried to cart all of us. And we were like, well, he can't carry it. We're just helping out. And the guy was like, all right, I don't know what you're doing. Just get out of here.
Hey, Brandon, want to see if this is a cure? Like, fucking-
Oh, yeah. All the time. And you're like, I don't think you're supposed to put that in a trach, buddy.
Nice. Well, would that give an extra filter, or
I don't know. But
maybe it's healthier?
somehow less of a filter, I think. I'm thinking.
direct. Yeah.
Does cough? Is there cough?
That you have to make them cough. So you'd have to be like,
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. That's
I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad. I'm sorry.
I don't think you cut me off. I don't remember.
Any goals, short term, long term, with comedy? Like anything on the horizon that you're like, I want to aim for that, or
I mean, the goal would be to become a regular headliner in the next 3 years or so. And it could happen. It could not. I'm happy featuring. A lot of people will say that's the best role to be in because there's no pressure and you can only hit home runs.
Right,
you know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah.
But that, and then I would like to get into some of the clubs in the city more. You know, I do the stand once every 2 months when Berg's nice enough to put me on his show.
Yeah.
But, you know, start to work my way in there a little bit. And then long term to do this. You know what I mean? To get to the end and look back and be like, yeah, you were a comedian. You're able to say that.
oh yeah.
So how about you? It's a little different perspective, you know, 3 versus
Yeah.
even though we're doing the exact same gigs, which is probably not a good sign for the 12.
Well, also starting at almost 40 and starting a family at the same time was a little difficult. But I would say, yeah, even to get to the level of featuring would be pretty awesome. What you said just reminded me of where that's the sweet spot. I listen to Dave Chang a lot. He's like a celebrity chef and that kind of thing. But I think his podcast is more of a comedy podcast than a food podcast because it's really funny. But he always says like those there's like events that chefs will invite like a whole bunch of chefs. Everyone's trying to outdo each other. And he's like, you want to aim to be forgettable. Like, you don't want to be like the worst dish, but you don't want to be the best because then that's expected of you. And you're going to have to they're going to keep expecting that and you're going to have to keep outdoing yourself. He's like, do good and just be forgettable. Like, he's joking, of course, but I mean, like, you know.
It's a good point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I would love to get to the point where I can make a living doing it. I don't need to be a household name. I would just love to tell jokes instead of delivering the mail.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That's
And be able to support a family and stuff like I am.
Sure.
Yeah,
I am
you can
broke, and that's what I
tell
do.
jokes instead of delivering them. You can do
Well,
that.
get paid for telling the jokes enough to sustain a family and a life.
Absolutely. And I know you said 3 years, but just hanging out with you guys, I could tell. I told you this Friday. It doesn't feel like you've only been doing it 3 years. And Sean, your charisma on here, obviously, it feels the same way.
I got none on stage.
That's not what I've heard. I've heard good reports from good sources, but the point being, like, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. Yeah, I've been doing it 12 years. 4 of those were the pandemic. So does that count? Or is it 8 of the first 3 years, one open mic every 2 months? Does that count? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's just about having fun, and that's the key too. Is I want to be able to say I'm having fun still. Like I don't want to get to the point where I'm like,
You don't seem bitter, so that's good.
not at all. I play the game all the time. A year ago, how would you felt about this? And like, oh yeah, I would have been really pumped. You know what I mean? Things like that. So
One of the best things that were said to me early on, because I was really struggling mentally with it, being from community club, Kyle Shahan, do you know him?
yes.
So I was just really struggling. He just like came up to me one night at the mic. He's like, "Do you enjoy doing this?" And I was like, in my head, I was like, "I don't know," but I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, show me." And I realized I was just like in pain on stage
And not
like having fun and that kind of thing. Like it's still a struggle, but that's something I strive for at least. And I remind myself of that, like, you know, at least pretend you're having fun, because if you're not there, the people watching you aren't going to. So.
and it's double for the type of material you're doing, because if you're doing super dark stuff and you're not showing the audience you're having fun saying it, they're like, this guy's gonna kill himself on the way home. You know,
You start getting laughs out of pity. Like, so funny.
Or nervous laughter, like if we don't laugh, is he gonna do something?
does he have a gun?
The one set you did. You had that fake ray gun.
Right.
But yeah, exactly, and that's why we got into it, right? If you really wanted to focus on something, you could have a male podcast where you talk about the different routes and how you're more fit. But this is something to have fun, and that's what you want to do. You
I want
know,
to kill myself just thinking about that.
welcome to comedy, baby.
We can get you out of here soon, because I know you have a ways back and it might get icy, but without getting too deep, one thing that I've come back to with a lot of guests, and we've asked on here, is like comedy as art versus entertainment, and that kind of spectrum. There's like the Seinfeld school, where it's like, is it funny? Is it funny? I'm not finding myself. I'm not speaking to larger issues and that kind of thing. And then there's like the far other end of the spectrum, where I guess you could say maybe Hannah Gatsby,
Okay.
or like where you're trying to make a point, you're trying to, and then somewhere in between is like Carlin, where he was like the hippy
Let's say
dippy.
Carlin's pretty far.
Well, there was the hippy dippy weatherman.
he just did the whole spectrum
Yeah,
himself.
he started
did
one.
the entire spectrum. So like,
From Carlin to Carlin.
and it's something, I guess. I guess it really is a spectrum. There's not one or the other. Do you aim for one or the other? Do you think there's more validity? Is your only goal just to get up there and entertain and make people laugh, or is it to make a point and maybe make people think differently about a certain thing that maybe is important to you?
Yeah,
I know that's a loaded question, but like,
no, that's a great question. I think for me, the first goal is to make people laugh.
Sure.
And then it's maybe to tear down like some of the issues you're not supposed to talk about, to do so in a way that kind of humanizes the issue or makes people who are so rigid about something kind of remake their stance. One of the best jokes is a Joe Rogan joke, and it made me change my stance on gay marriage. Like, I grew up in a real Catholic household, and the joke's very simple. He goes, if you hate gay marriage and you're straight, it's because you think dicks taste like lollipops. And it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It makes you laugh, but it also then you start thinking, you're like, okay, so if I could do a little bit where you're thinking afterwards, but also entertain the guy who's so drunk he's not going to get it too,
Yeah.
that's that sweet spot for me.
fair enough.
Yeah, that dude came up in Boston, so he fucking is used to the
Yeah, the
he's
rough,
used to-
yeah,
that's rough around. It was rough around the edges back then. I'm sure it still is.
absolutely.
So maybe the goal is to find that kind of balance, and like maybe you don't have to do one or the other, but yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard my World Cup joke? I don't know if I've done it on the shows we've done together.
No.
So I spell the
I did love the Magic Johnson joke.
Thank you. Thank you. I spell the gamer word in the joke. And it started to get laughs for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
where people were just like excited that I was spelling that word and didn't get the humor that went along with it.
Yeah.
And so I stopped doing it. And wasn't me setting out to be like, oh, it's about this or that. It was like the goal of why I'm trying to make people laugh isn't hitting. And so that's about as artsy as I get. I don't think you're going to ever see me do a Gatsby type thing or
Sure.
where I'm ranting about politics or anything.
Yeah.
But if it's in the news, like maybe take it from a different angle. And then that breaks down like some of this us versus them mentality.
Hell yeah.
So I also, in New York, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like everybody's super woke, super liberal. So I go up on stage and I'm kind of like, well, I'm going to be the opposite opinion here and show you that that's not the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just here to make you laugh too. We all agree at the end of the day. And
Sure.
none of my jokes are super, like I said, conservative or political. You've heard my set. I make fun of everybody, but it's more about, are you laughing for the right reasons? Like what I intended. I could walk up on stage and fall on purpose on my way to the mic. That'll get a laugh, but that's not why I'm trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
would agree with that.
Yeah. I think we about hit it. I mean, anybody got anything else? And anything you want to like plug? I mean, I don't there's not much of an attempted delivery bump, but, but
so
if there's anything you want to like plug for people to check out,
for sure, check out the Davey Mac Sports Program. That's a podcast I produce for Eastside Dave. We do it every Monday. It's sports, it's entertainment, and then on that whole channel we do some Tales from the Satellite where we break down old Ron and Fez episodes together, and that's my plug. Check out Eastside Dave TV.
Hell yeah. Eastside Dave TV.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
awesome. You have any shows?
No, I don't think
coming up?
till like April, so we'll wait.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I'll wait for that.
Yeah, I just got the roast battle, and
You're
I
gonna
don't-
win.
I might just call Zach Jack a duty head and watch the rest of it, or go next door to the strip club. I don't know either way.
That is always a tough one. Not to go too far. I know we're wrapping up. but during the pandemic, I think I told you this. A guy named Rich put on shows at the Pink Flamingo, which is a strip club.
I hope it was.
So the choices were you paid $10 and that got you into the comedy show and the strip club. The comedy show was outside in December. The strip club was heated and warm, and it got to the point where you're like, Rich, I don't want to be out here.
Yeah.
I'd rather be watching the girls. So it's always fun at a strip club.
Can you get a window over here? So
Yeah, exactly.
maybe I can warm up out here.
Can she be my backup dancer? I know that doesn't happen in comedy, but they'll pay more attention.
Like a sign language.
Yeah,
Like a sexy sign linguist.
They don't need to hear the jokes, honey. Just show them some tits.
Hey, you can just do stuff with your hands. It's not gonna.
They don't know.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for
having
having
me.
Appreciate it, man.
an awesome episode. And again, I'm sorry, Penn State, but we are Attempted Delivery, and see you next Thursday.
Take it easy.